Under. Yep.
Okay, looks like everybody's back in and we're connected. Mr. Kirkpatrick, cross-examination.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Elena, you actually, and I want to talk about when you moved back, when you moved up here to begin with. You moved in with Mr. Aguilar, you said in February of 2019?
Yes, sir. I believe that was the date. I was already working for Trillium Point Apartments at that time. And so that's where I could get a good discount on an apartment for us. So that's where we chose to move.
Okay. So the two of you move in together, you get married. I believe it's February 9th of 2019. Does that sound right?
Yes, sir.
And you're living together at Trillium?
Yes, sir.
And you're employed at Trillium?
Yes, sir.
How long were you employed at Trillium?
I was employed at Trillium for almost 3 years.
3 years?
Yes, sir. I believe so.
When did you move back to Texas?
I moved back to Texas permanently in June of 2020.
So were you working with Trillium before the two of you got married in February of 2019?
Yes, sir, I was.
When did you start your employment with Trillium?
I started my employment with Trillium October of 2018.
And then you worked there until you went back to Texas in 2020?
Yes, sir.
So you would agree with me that you worked there for about 2 years then?
Yes, sir. Sorry, my math is
Oh, that's okay. I'm not trying to trick you, I promise.
Oh, no.
What, did you get paid a salary or hourly?
Hourly.
What'd you get paid an hour?
I believe $14 an hour. I had moved up and gotten $14 an hour.
From 2019, when the two of you got married, were you making $14 an hour then?
Yes, sir.
But how much did you take home? You got paid bi-weekly?
Yes, sir, I did.
How much did you take home after taxes bi-weekly from Trillium?
Bi-weekly, I would bring home anywhere from $700 to $900. Sometimes I did have overtime.
Okay. And out of that $700 to $900, if you got overtime, you would give $500 of that to Mr. Aguilar to go towards rent and other bills associated with the home?
Not just if I got overtime. I gave him anywhere from $400 to $500 every paycheck period to go towards the rent and our bills.
So that left you non-overtime weeks about $200 every 2 weeks. So $100 a week you had left over after you contributed to the marital bills, correct?
Yes, sir. And that money went to our electric bill. And I had a cell phone bill that I had to pay.
Okay, so basically between the money you gave for your marital expenses, your cell phone bill, and the electric bill, that pretty much ate up your paycheck. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay. And Mr. Aguilar was working for the Department of Corrections, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
You said when you moved here to live with Mr. Aguilar, you came in your 2008 Jeep, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And you brought a few personal items along with you, I'm presuming, that fit inside the Jeep?
No, sir. I pulled a U-Haul trailer with my Jeep.
Okay. Was it a large size trailer, a regular size trailer?
It wasn't the smallest that they had. It was the next size up.
Okay. And while you were married and lived with Mr. Aguilar, and you'd agree with me, you only lived with him for about a year, correct? As a married couple.
As a married couple, yes. We lived together 2 years.
And during that time period, you testified that you bought some pots and pans, correct?
Yes, sir.
And some other items, is that correct?
Yes, sir. And I made several things and items for our home. decorative things, and helped, to make it a home.
Right. Okay. But that was with the money that you used up from your paychecks, though, correct? Because you didn't have any money left over from your paychecks, right?
No, sir. Those things Al would buy unless I had them already in my craft supply that I would use.
Talking about furniture. These
Furniture?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. The furniture was purchased with his paycheck.
Perfect. Thank you. The domestic violence case that you testified to previously that happened down in Indiana, you actually did an affidavit to the prosecutor and the court advising that the case did not, that the events didn't happen that way, correct?
I did an affidavit, sir. Yes, sir, because I wanted to be able to continue my marriage, and Al wanted the charges dropped.
And that's a sworn statement under oath, penalty of perjury, correct?
Yes, sir. I was more afraid of losing my marriage at the time than I was being charged with perjury.
And in fact,
ma'am, hold on. I want to make sure you understand the ground rules. If he asked you a question that can be answered yes or no, I want you to answer it yes or no. Your attorney might give you an opportunity later to offer an explanation, but don't volunteer any explanations. If you can answer it yes or no, answer it yes or no. Go ahead, Mr. Kirkpatrick.
In fact, you made the prosecuting attorney and the court aware that you suffered from significant mental illnesses, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were on numerous medications, correct?
Yes, sir.
And the majority of those medications you never should have been consuming alcohol with, correct?
That is correct.
Because they have an adverse effect on your balance, ability, and everything else, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, you told them that you were upset at Mr. Aguilar because in essence, he was choosing his kids over you when he wanted to leave the campground early, correct?
No, sir.
So that was never an issue, or that was never brought up?
We had a discussion about what time we would leave the campground and if we could have someone babysit the children so we could spend time together as a couple, because we rarely had time as a couple.
And when
but
he
it
said
was not about putting the kids first or second.
When he said no, that he wanted to get his children, you were not happy about that, correct?
No, my feelings were hurt. Yes.
Absolutely. And at that point, you had already been consuming alcohol excessively, correct?
I had been consuming alcohol. I had had 2 drinks.
And you'd also been taking your prescription medication for your mental illnesses, correct?
I did not take those medications until nighttime, sir.
Okay.
That's the only time I take them.
And in fact, you told the prosecutor in a sworn statement that you actually fell and it wasn't Mr. Aguilar that assaulted you, correct?
No, sir, I did not tell the prosecutor that.
You never told him that?
No, sir.
You never told him that he never assaulted you?
No, sir. I said that he held me up. He was very angry, but I did not tell them that I did tell them he did not assault me, but I said that he held me up.
You also told him that you had fallen down, and that's what caused some of the injuries because of your intoxication, correct?
I do not recall whether I stated that exact statement or not, sir.
And ultimately, the charges were dismissed, and there's not going to be any charges brought against Mr. Aguilar. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement. Yes, sir.
The Jeep, in your trial brief, you asked the court to give you $12,000 for this 2008 Jeep. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Your testimony a minute ago is that you sold that Jeep to Huff Auto, correct?
Correct.
At the time that you sold that Jeep to Huff Auto, they gave you Blue Book value because they took into consideration that it had clutch problems and I think some transmission problems. Is that a fair statement?
No, sir. They did not give me Blue Book value for the Jeep because it had the transmission problems. They agreed to give me $5,000 for the Jeep.
Okay, well, what I'm getting at is they reduced that amount because of the mechanical problems with that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And then you also, there was an outstanding lien on that vehicle that was paid as well, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at the end of the day, you received a total of $1,200 from Huff Auto, correct?
Yes, sir.
Out of that $1,200, you paid off your bills that you had from Texas and paid marital bills as well with that $1,200, correct?
Yes, sir. I used approximately $300 to finish paying the loan that I had taken out to move to Michigan with.
And the rest of that was used towards paying towards your marital bills with Mr. Aguilar. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, sir, it is.
You talked about, so basically you're asking the court to give you $12,000 for the fair market value of the Jeep, for the Blue Book value.
Yes, sir.
And that's the same Jeep that had the bad clutch and the bad transmission, correct?
Yes, sir, it is.
The same Jeep that Huff Auto paid off part of the lien on that vehicle, correct?
Correct.
And the same vehicle that you received $1,200 from and paid it on what you just testified to that you paid it for, correct?
Yes, sir.
You also talked about some crafts and photos and clothes, etc., that you believe are worth $1,200.
Yes, sir.
You have receipts for any of that stuff?
No, sir, I do not have receipts for it.
Is there a reason why you didn't take all that when you packed everything up and removed it from the house?
I was not able to have access to our storage that we had together, storing our items. So no, sir, I could not get those items.
You had a storage unit together?
Yes, sir. We had storage that we both had items in. It was in Al's name, but we had a storage together. We were married. We put both of our marital stuff into it.
You would agree with me. You came back and picked up all those items while Mr. Aguilar was out of town in Florida, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in fact, he didn't even know you were in the house getting all those items, right?
That is correct.
So, but at the end of the day, you were able to leave Michigan with this entire list of property items that you set forth in your trial brief, correct?
That is correct.
And yet when you moved to Michigan and you and Al had gotten married, you had very little property items, correct?
Correct.
And you testified a minute ago that the items, the furniture items that were purchased during your marriage were actually purchased from Mr. Aguilar's checks, not yours, correct?
That is correct.
You're also aware that Mr. Aguilar has a very long list of property items that you took from him when you left the marital home and went back to Florida, right?
That is correct.
And I guess one of the ones, and you don't dispute that either, do you, that you took those property items?
No, sir. There are a few that I don't have a clue where they came from that I do not have, but no, sir, I did not deny taking multiple items from the home.
And in fact, the 2 Xboxes were actually 1 Xbox for each one of his sons. That's what they were given for Christmas. Is that a fair statement?
No, sir, it is not. One of the Xboxes was bought for the boys for Christmas. And a few months later, the second Xbox was bought and put in our family living room for us to play as on a family. And then the younger son, Alex, would use it to game while his other brother, Daniel, was on the Xbox in their bedroom. But the second Xbox was bought for family use.
Your Honor, I have no further questions.
Can you redirect Mr. White?
Just very briefly, Ms. Aguilar, you provided me pictures of your buttocks and your breast that have bite marks from Mr. Aguilar. Do you really want to go down that road and have those admitted in a public record?
If that's necessary, yes, I do.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, were you honest with those folks with the affidavit?
I did what I did because My husband said we could not continue our marriage if I did not get the charges dropped against him, that we would not have a marriage and he would not have his job. So I did what I needed to do and try and get the charges dropped for him so we could continue our marriage.
Mr. Kirkpatrick just did a nice job kind of going through your finances, and it sounds as though you paid the bills and Mr. Aguilar bought stuff, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So those items that you've taken were either replacements or things that were bought during the marriage?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Any further proofs, Mr. White?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Mr. Kirkpatrick, are you ready to examine your client?
Yes, Your Honor, and I will be brief. And Your Honor, I've got some JNet officers and a client and a prosecuting attorney coming to my office in about 10 minutes. So if they get here and I need to take just a quick break just to get them set up, would that be okay?
No problem. I actually have a few front of the court show causes scheduled for 3 o'clock, so that might work out well anyway.
Yeah, if we could take a break and then I could just pop back on again, we can finish it up. Perfect.
Let's do that. So can we get started now?
Yeah, we can, Judge. We can.
Okay. Just let me know when you need to stop. Otherwise, I will just stop at 3, put you guys back in the waiting room, and I'll handle the 3 o'clock matters.
I'm going to let my secretary know real quick that we're going to stop at 3 so they can just hang tight for a minute.
Okay.
Okay, we're going to stop at 3, so just let them know we'll be ready at 3. Okay. All right. Sorry about that, Your Honor. Mr. Aguilar?
So wait a minute. I haven't sworn him yet,
Oh,
but I have a question for you first.
yes.
What is that I see above is that a patio door or a double window? I'm just
That's
curious.
French doors that go out.
What is that above it? What is that above it?
That's my Marine Corps sword.
Ah, I couldn't really tell.
My many years ago of service in the Marine Corps.
Well, thank you for that service.
Semper Fi, Andy.
Right.
Mr. Aguilar, would you raise your right hand, please? You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
You can put your hand down. State your full name, please.
Alberto Aguilar, Jr.
Go ahead, Mr. Kirkpatrick.
Mr. Aguilar, I'm going to just cut right to the chase. You and Miss Aguilar were married in February of 2019, right?
Yes, sir.
When you moved into together, what did Miss Aguilar bring to the marriage in 2019? I'm talking property-wise, if you recall.
Pretty much clothes and a few. She had some arts and crafts, like containers and bills.
And while the year that you two of you lived together, was she contributing to any bills? Was she giving you any money to contribute
Yeah,
to those
she did.
bills?
She did contribute.
Okay.
Not the $400 and $500 every bi-weekly, like she's saying. And the fact that she says she's working all this, if she could produce her pay stubs, you would see it's not even possible for her to do the things that she says she's doing.
Okay. Well, let's listen. Let's just stay focused on my questions, okay? So, do you recall the Jeep?
Yes, sir.
And what kind of condition was that Jeep
It was in poor condition.
How so? Explain to the court what that Jeep looked like and how it was functioning as a Jeep.
It was always breaking down, always had transmission issues, always had clutch issues. She had it repaired before she even came out my way. I don't know how many times she's had it repaired, but it was always breaking down on her.
Did you tell her you wanted her to sell that vehicle?
Nope. didn't tell her to sell it.
And you heard her testimony. I believe there was an outstanding lien on it that I think her father was paying. Were you aware of that?
I didn't know her father was paying it. No, I knew.
Did you ever?
No, sir, I didn't know her father was.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Did you ever have discussions with her father about getting the vehicle fixed?
No, sir.
Did she approach you about taking it and selling it, or did you suggest that to her?
I really don't know. I wish I did, because I don't recall bringing it up, but I do know I wasn't going to give her any more money because I was constantly giving her money.
Okay. And she testified that she received about $1,200 from the sale of that vehicle. Did you ever see any of that money?
No, sir.
To your knowledge, what did she do with that money?
She said she told me she was sending it back to Texas.
For what purpose? Do you recall?
No, I'm pretty sure it was to pay some bills.
Okay. There was some testimony about you purchasing a Cadillac. Do you recall doing that?
Yes, sir.
Where did you purchase that vehicle from?
I bought it off a guy who was selling it on Marketplace.
Was that a Facebook app?
Yes, sir.
How much did you pay for it?
I thought it was around $3,500.
Okay. Out of that $3,500, did any of that money come from Mrs. Aguilar?
No, sir.
The storage units that we had, did you have a storage unit that she did not have access to?
No, she had access to everything. She knew where all the spare keys were.
So did the two of you have your storage units at the same location, just different units?
No, sir, it was just one unit.
Just one unit?
Yes, sir.
So she could have accessed that and got anything out of there that she wanted?
Yes, sir.
Are you aware of any clothes, crafts, photographs that were left behind by Mrs. Aguilar when she left?
The few things that I found of hers that she didn't take, she sent me a message to take it over to Kenny's house, who was a mutual friend of both of us. And that's what I did.
So how did you take it over to Kenny's? What did you do?
I put it in cardboard boxes and took it over to Kenny.
Okay. Did you give it to Kenny personally? Did you put it in the garage? When you dropped it off, did you speak to anybody?
No, just Kenny.
So you did talk to Kenny. So Kenny knew you were dropping those items off for Mrs. Aguilar.
Oh, yes, sir. He told me that she was paying him to store her stuff for him so she can collect it when she comes back up.
Okay. When she came, when you went on vacation, you were on vacation when she came to the house and took the property that we put in your trial brief, the exhibit. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Where were you?
I was in Florida.
Who were you there with?
I was there with my friend, Frida.
Just her?
And in June, I went twice. Once with me and her, and another time, yeah, we had other family members there with us, but going down there, it was just me and her. Her mom, her dad was with us. Her two boys.
At that point, did you consider your marriage to still be alive, or did you consider your marriage to be broken?
Our marriage was broken way before that.
Okay. We've heard some testimony regarding the domestic violence arrest in Indiana. You recall that, obviously.
Yes, sir.
So,
Did you
Mr. Kirkpatrick,
Yes.
before we move into this subject, this might be a good time to break.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'll put you back in the waiting room and just check back in whenever you're done with your meeting.
I think we should be done by 3:30, Your Honor. So if I could have till at least 3:30 to check back in, that would be perfect.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Aguilar, zoom back in at 3:30.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I got my FOC stuff. Good afternoon, Chad. How are you?
Great, Your Honor. How are you?
Good, thanks. All right, let's see who else we've got here. Let's see. Harris, Colbert. Thought I saw two of those. Okay, so let me let these folks in. I'm just going to let them all in. Okay, I just let someone in with a phone number ending in 6448. What is your name?
Yes, sir. Corey Hulbert.
Corey Hulbert. Okay, hold on, Mr. Hulbert.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I've got somebody that says Doug's Galaxy. What is your name?
First name is Douglas. The last name is Relya.
Okay. All right, so let's deal with Mr. Hulbert first, since he's here.
Yes, sir.
We have two matters here, Joseph versus Hulbert and Fry versus Hulbert.
Yes, sir.
I have a summary from Mr. Smith, our FOC enforcement officer, that tells me on the 2001 file, which is the one with Ms. Joseph, this is a balance only case. You have an arrearage of $8,234.74 and a last payment of $80 on January 11th, last month. On the 2015 file, that is charging monthly at $107 a month, $24.60 a week. There are arrears of $27.72.65. And last payment, again, January 11th of $140. So it looks like on January 11th, you paid $220 towards your support obligation. So, Mr. Hulbert, are you employed?
Yes, sir. Work's just kind of picking back up right now. I do concrete.
Do you do that as an employee or as an independent contractor?
No, yes, sir. An employee.
Who's the employer?
Huff Concrete. And that I made
spell
I'm sorry.
Chad, do you have information on the employer?
Mr. Hulbert, who did you say you were employed with?
Huff Concrete.
Huff's Concrete?
Yeah, HUFF.
Are you
concrete.
1099 or do you pay taxes out of your payroll?
Yeah, it's cash.
Okay.
All right, well, that's what I was getting at. So I understand that concrete work is seasonal.
Yes, sir.
You said work is picking back up again. What do you mean by that?
Yes, sir. Well, we're getting more jobs now that, I don't know, the Corona scare, I guess, is kind of fading away a little bit. We lost a lot of jobs because of that, and we were dead for a couple months, and now it's just picking back up. That's why I'm starting to make payments every 2 weeks now. I can't do it every week because I get paid every 2 weeks. So I was on the 11th, I'll make another payment, and then 2 weeks after that, and so forth.
All right. How much do you think you can start paying on a monthly basis?
Well, I believe, do I have the cases backwards? Is the Joseph case $10 a week, or is the Fry case, am I paying more on the wrong case, or do I have that correct? I don't.
Well, what this says, the payment plan you were put on previously, looks like, well, I can't tell when that was. You were ordered to pay $10 a week on the Joseph file.
Okay.
Looks like you were ordered to pay $10 a week on both files for one each.
Oh, well then, wouldn't I be? I'm sorry. Go ahead, sir.
Well, you should certainly, if your work is picking back up, you should certainly be able to pay those amounts.
Yeah.
I think you should be paying more than $10 a week.
Yeah, I thought I was. That's why I think. So I might be confused on. I'm giving giving more money for the wrong case. I'm not.
Well, your monthly obligation on the active file is $107. You should be paying more than $107 so you can catch up, make some progress on the arrearage.
And the 140.
I think I think what I'd like to see you do is start paying $120 a month on the 2015 file, so that a little bit is going to the arrearage each month.
Yes,
and
sir.
I want you to pay, let's see. And you should be paying $40 a month on the 2001 file. So you should be paying, what I'm going to order today is that you start paying monthly $160 total, $120 on the current file, the 2015 file with Ms. Fry, and $40 a month on the 2001 file with Ms. Joseph. And if you're back to work, that sounds like a reasonable amount. Those payments, when did you make your last payment, sir?
February 1st.
All right, I think that didn't catch up yet. Do you have verification of that, Chad?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
I do see on the 2015 file there was $40 applied on February 1st.
Okay, so let's do this. Beginning March 1st, you need to pay $120 a month on the file with Ms. Fry. You need to pay $40 a month on the file with Ms. Joseph.
That's fine. And I won't wait till March. I'll pay.
Right, and of course, anything you do pay goes to reduce your arrearage, which I'm sure you'd like to be done with.
Oh my gosh, yes, sir. I'm trying.
Okay, we will get orders out to you, sir, but we expect you, don't wait till you get the order. You need to start making the payments as I've scheduled them, okay?
Like I said, the 11th, I'll make a pay every 2 weeks. The 11th, and then 2 weeks after that. And then, yes, sir. Won't be an
That's
issue.
wonderful. Glad to hear that, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Okay, and we have Harris versus Harris. This matter was scheduled for, well, wait a minute. No, I'm sorry. This file's out of place. Pardon the confusion. The next one is Myers versus Holm. Kirk Holm is the payer. This matter was scheduled for 3 o'clock. It's now almost 12 minutes after the hour. Mr. Holm has failed to appear. I will issue a bench warrant with a bond amount of $700, including the $100 bench warrant fee.
All right, Your Honor, I'll get those orders over to you.
Are those your only files today?
Yes, sir.
All right, and Mr. Relier is here on a parenting time show cause.
Yes, sir.
Have a good day, Chad.
You too.
Okay, so hold on a minute. We have 2 parenting time complaints. Sorry, I'm just reading. So you were ordered some makeup parenting time.
Correct.
Let's see. One of which, well, let's see. I didn't have a date for one, so the only one that I have a date on is the date of November 15th.
Correct.
All right, she told you the one child was sick, and would drop off the other, but never dropped off the other child either.
Correct. And when I went to,
All right,
excuse me.
Go ahead.
Yeah, we had been discussing all morning, the scenario that was playing out. At about 9:20, 9:30, I realized that I wasn't there picking up my child. To be honest with you, I was in the woods hunting, and I had set up for my mother to pick my children up this one morning. She was there. She was messaging me back and forth. The mother, Lindsay, never showed up. I had been communicating with Lindsay all morning as well about what was going on with the kids being sick, me picking up one of the kids and whatnot. When she found out that I wasn't going to be there, she stopped communications with me, and I had to obviously get out of the woods and go looking for my children. And I could not find them until about 11 o'clock. I found them at her house. When I showed up to her house to pick them up, she refused to answer the door. She had even told my son Braden not to answer the door because they hadn't done anything wrong. So she refused to answer the door. I called the police. That was right around, I got the report here. I think that was right around 11-ish that I had finally caught up with them, called the police. When the police showed up, she wouldn't let me have the kids again. She stated that she was unaware that I wasn't going to be there, which was totally false because I have the text messages showing she knew I wasn't going to be there.
Well, what if you're getting makeup parenting time with your children? Why would you choose to go hunting instead?
That wasn't a makeup time, Your Honor. That was my normal scheduled weekend with my kids, and it was only picking them up. I wasn't going to be gone the whole time that they were there. I just wasn't going to be able to make the pickup time. I'm usually done hunting right around 10 o'clock. It was opening day, and that was the sole reason that it was opening day is the reason why I didn't show up to pick them up that one day. Otherwise, I'm there every morning picking my kids up when I'm supposed to be.
All right. So, Ms. Hillard, you acknowledge that Mr. Relier didn't get his parenting time on November 15th.
So I acknowledge that he didn't get it, but he didn't show up, and I was unaware that someone else was picking up our daughter. I sent my fiance with my daughter to there, and I said, and he stayed till 9:20, and he's like, no one's here, like Doug's not here. And I said, okay, well, you can bring her back, because he had to go to work. And then that's when the cops showed up at my house at 11 o'clock, just seeing like if the kids are okay. He's like, I'm just gonna do a wellness check because Mr. Really wanted, to check in and get the kids. And I said, he can't show up 2 hours later expecting that he's gonna get the kids when he didn't show up to pick them up, because he did not unfortunately tell me that his mom was coming. And I have it all in the text saying, I'm in the woods, my mom was there. And I said, well, you didn't let me know your mom was there. And he's like, well, you should have looked. And I said, you knew I wasn't there. I let you know my fiance would be there. And he put it in his own note that he knew my fiance was coming, and he didn't acknowledge with me that someone else was going to be there. So my fiance didn't know who to look for, unfortunately. So, and then 2 hours later.
So let me stop you. I mean, normally what would happen when Mr. Relier is exercising his parenting time is you drop the children at the start of the parenting time.
Yes, normally that is what happens. Correct.
And he brings them back at the end of the parenting time?
Correct. That is what normally happens. Yes.
And normally that works out just fine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Other than the, COVID to happen thing where you got the extra makeup time. Other than that, yeah, normally it's fine. And I don't have a problem. Or he'll tell me, he will notify me sometimes that his mom is bringing them. So I'll know. But this random time, he did not notify me of that. And that's why I saved the text messages for that day.
All right. I understand the confusion here. I get that you have a little different version of what happened. I do think that Mr. Relier should get makeup parenting time. We'll just add this on to the makeup parenting time I gave him before until it's made up. So he's going to get an extra day of makeup parenting time. I will issue an order to the. I'm sorry, go ahead, ma'am.
Can I ask what happens if that was a 2 hour difference? I don't feel like I should have to wait for him to maybe come around. And I didn't know he was hunting until he told me after the fact. So then I planned my new day. And then he showed up like 2 hours later with a cop saying I needed to get him up. And I said, I've already rearranged my day. That's not what I need to do. I shouldn't have to wait. So I don't think that's fair that I should have to allow him to have another day, because then this could happen again.
Well, the reality is, he didn't get to see his kids on a day that he was supposed to see his kids. I see that that's partially his fault, but parenting time is the right of the child. So it isn't a question. It isn't a question of whether or not, Mr. Relier should get a full, 8 hour day or whatever the number of hours is. These kids deserve to have that time with their dad. Because parenting time is the right of the child, I am ordering one makeup day to make up for the one that he missed. And I hope that you folks can communicate a little more clearly on this. Make sure you let each other know what's going on. Sometimes it happens, things happen. I understand opening day of hunting season. I get that. But let's try to communicate. It's when your kids are expecting to see you and they don't see you, they're disappointed. I know that.
Yeah, then I explain it all.
Yeah, normally, I've even let him have them overnight at his parents' house so that he gets that extra time on the weekend. And we've not been having an issue with that. He actually had them the last 3 weekends overnight during also his makeup weekend as well, so that he had that extra time.
And I'm glad that you're doing that, ma'am. I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course.
But I am going to award him one makeup day. We'll send out an order to that effect. I hope you work harder. it just doesn't do anybody any good to be back in here all the time. I'm glad to hear that it sounds like, other than this incident, things are going a little better, and I think that's good.
They are.
I hope you can continue that. Try to keep your disagreements to a minimum. It doesn't help your kids. I mean, they know when you're arguing over parenting time. They know when you're fighting over stuff like this. It doesn't help them to know that. I'm sure they both love you. I'm sure you both love them. That's what they need to understand. And even though you don't love each other anymore, I get that. Don't think about the other, think about the kids. Do your very best to put these disagreements behind you. I will send out an order to that effect.
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, no problem. Thanks.
You're welcome. Have a good day, each of you.
Thank you, you too.
Let's see. Let me let them all back in. I don't know if Eric's.
I mean, if it was wrapped up, I couldn't see it, no, because it was wrapped in something like, I mean, it had to be.
Well, I'm not asking what you're assuming it was. I'm saying, did you know for a fact that he gave you narcotics to give to him?
Yeah, it had to be some kind of, yeah.
Okay, what made you?
All right, I'm pretty sure Andy didn't want any of that to be on the record. I'm going to go off the record now, and we'll check back in at 3:30. Hopefully he'll be ready then.
Run this stuff down.